On March 4th, 2022, Eric Richins went to bed after drinking a Moscow Mule his wife made him. He never woke up. 5 lethal doses of fentanyl were in his system. And here's the thing that makes this case unlike anything you've heard before. After he died, his wife, Kouri, sat down and wrote a children's book about grief. She called it, "Are You With Me?" She read it to their kids. She went on local TV to promote it. And prosecutors say she's the one who killed him. Kouri Richins is on trial right now in Summit County, Utah. Aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, forgery. The prosecution just rested their case after calling nearly 40 witnesses over 13 days. And what came out during testimony paints a picture of a woman who allegedly planned her husband's death weeks in advance, forging insurance documents, recruiting her housekeeper to buy fentanyl, and poisoning Eric not once, but twice. This is the full story. The marriage, the money, the affair, the poison, and the jail cell letter that might have sealed her fate. Eric and Kouri Richins lived in Kamas, Utah, a small mountain town about 20 minutes from Park City. From the outside, they had everything. A nice home, 3 young sons. Eric ran a successful business, but behind closed doors, things were falling apart. Friends testified that the couple had serious marital problems. Money was a constant fight. Kouri had racked up millions of dollars in debt, and Eric, he was pulling away. What Eric didn't know, or maybe he did, was that Kouri was having an affair. The man she was seeing actually took the stand during the trial. He confirmed the relationship. And prosecutors argue this wasn't just infidelity. It was part of a pattern. Kouri was building a new life, and Eric was in the way. But getting rid of a husband isn't simple, especially when he's the one with the assets. So prosecutors say Kouri came up with a plan that started not with poison, but with paperwork. On February 4th, 2022, a new life insurance policy on Eric Richins went into effect. Prosecutors say Kouri forged the application. Eric never signed it. He never agreed to it. But now, if something happened to him, Kouri stood to collect. 10 days later, Valentine's Day, prosecutors allege Kouri made her first attempt to kill Eric. She allegedly slipped fentanyl into something he consumed. He got sick, really sick, but he survived. That's the attempted aggravated murder charge. Prosecutors say this wasn't some spontaneous act. It was a dry run. Now, where did a suburban mom in a small Utah town get fentanyl? That's where it gets even darker. Carmen Lauber, the Richins family's housekeeper, took the stand and testified that Kouri asked her to obtain fentanyl. Lauber said she got it from a man named Robert Crozier, who also testified. A housekeeper buying street fentanyl for her employer. That's the kind of detail that sounds made up, but 2 witnesses confirmed it under oath. Less than 3 weeks after the Valentine's Day attempt, Kouri tried again. On the evening of March 4th, 2022, she made Eric a Moscow Mule, his favorite drink. Vodka, ginger beer, lime, and fentanyl. 5 times the lethal dose. Eric drank it. He went to bed. And by the next morning, he was dead. When paramedics arrived, Kouri played the grieving wife. And she kept playing that role for months. She organized the funeral. She comforted her children. And then she did something that still stuns people following this case. She wrote a children's picture book called Are You With Me? About a father who dies and watches over his kids from heaven. She promoted it publicly, she did interviews, she told people she wanted to help her sons process their grief. All while Prosecutors say she was the reason they were grieving in the first place. Investigators didn't buy the Grieving Widow Act for long. The toxicology came back. 5 lethal doses of fentanyl. Eric had no history of drug use, no prescriptions, no track marks, nothing that suggested he'd ever touched an opioid. Then came the financial records, the forged insurance application, the debts, the affair, the housekeeper's story. Kouri was arrested and charged. But even behind bars, she allegedly kept scheming. Investigators found a letter in her jail cell, and this is the piece of evidence that might haunt her the most. In the letter, she apparently coached her mother and her brother on what to say. She told her brother he needed to tell her attorney that he knew Eric was getting pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico, and that Eric would just get high every night. Prosecutors presented this letter to the jury. The lead investigator, Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, walked through it on the stand. The defense tried to float the idea that Eric had been sexting someone and might have had a secret drug habit.
He called it a joke.
The trial started in late February 2026 in Summit County. Over 13 days, prosecutors called nearly 40 witnesses: the housekeeper, the drug supplier, the affair partner, friends, business associates, and the lead detective. On Thursday, day 13, the prosecution rested. The defense immediately asked the judge for a directed verdict, arguing the state hadn't proven its case. The judge denied the motion on all 5 counts. The defense is expected to begin presenting their case on Monday. They've hinted at a theory that Eric obtained fentanyl himself, that a man allegedly came to the sheriff's office claiming Eric had reached out to him looking for the drug. But the lead investigator testified he looked into it and didn't find it credible. The jury will get instructions soon, and a verdict could come within the next 2 weeks. This case is far from over. The defense hasn't even started yet, and whatever happens in that courtroom next week could change everything. I'll be covering the verdict as soon as it drops. So if you want to stay on top of this case, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. Drop a comment below. Do you think the jail cell letter is the most damaging piece of evidence, or is it the housekeeper's testimony? I want to hear what you think. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out my last video on the cases that shaped true crime in 2026.